what does a legend mean? How do you become a legend? I'm always curious, what does that mean? They should have a Legends Hotel, somewhere where you could stay at when you go. They should have them in different cities that you could stay there for free. You ain't coming in. You ain't no bleeding legend. Go down to Hotel 6. The Neurotic Outsiders came about by doing a benefit at the Viper Room for someone who had cancer, and Matt, I think, instigated it. Matt Sorum instigated it, and Duff and John Taylor and me. Was a bunch of people, I believe, who was playing that night for this guy. But it was one of them things again where the four of us was playing. We're like, oh, this is cool. Let's do this again. And we started rehearsing and started playing down there every Monday. And it became this scene, you know, various people would get up with us. Iggy, Billy Idol, Chris Hine got up once, Ian Ashbury, various people. And it became like a happening. It was the place to be. And Guy O'Siri, who was working at Maverick at the time, decided he wanted to give us $1 million to do a record. That's when people had money in the music business. I mean, to think of that now, $1 million to a bunch of jerk-offs like us who kind of putting a band together is crazy, you know, but it was a lot of fun, and I am proud of that album. That is one album I really do like. I like the songwriting, I like the production, and I like the way it's played. Yeah, that was a fun time. That was a fun time. I was into writing songs then. I wrote a lot of the songs on the record, and it was a fun time. It's a shame that it kind of fell on its ass, because I think that could have done a lot better than it did. But it was at the period in 1996 where, for the first time in 20 odd years, the Sex Pistols was doing their first reunion. So that kind of pushed me away from it, even though halfway through the world tour that we were doing in the Sex Pistols, the 3 weeks that I had off, we did shows with the Neurotic Outsiders in Europe and in America. But there was, you know, and then there was some talk of Guns N' Roses, and it just kind of fell apart. We couldn't really get behind it, which was a shame. I think it could have done all right, better than it did, you know. John is a great bass player. Obviously, to most people, he's just known as the bass player in Duran, the good-looking guy in Duran. But he can rock. And what I like about John, the way he plays, is that he plays with his fingers. And I like that warm sound. Like Matlock used to play with his fingers a lot. It's just a certain sound, and he can wipe the floor with a lot of rock bass players. Yeah, there's the stereotypical thing, Duran, Sex Pistols, how does that work? Guns N' Roses, how does that work? But it just did, you know. And I think you just like what you like, regardless of what you think people are going to think you should like. I used to listen to, you know, Boston and Journey when the Sex Pistols were going on. And that was something that you couldn't really talk about, or I didn't feel like I should open my mouth about it. But now I don't, you know, I don't care. And I used to have a little cassette player with the headphones. What do they call them?
Walkman?
A Walkman. And I used to have Journey's greatest hits on there. And that was what I would listen to all the time. And I remember looking out a hotel with that song, what's the big one?
Don't Stop Believing.
Don't Stop Believing. I used to love that song, and I used to play it all the time. I like all kinds of music. I still like Boston and Journey. You know, I like a lot of Tamla Motown. I like a lot of early reggae, 60s, 70s reggae. I like a lot of classic rock. The least thing I listen to is punk.